So I've always been a tinkerer, and that come from my dad. So when we were young, we just didn't have the money to pay someone to do something for us. So we'd go out and we'd pull things apart and put them back together ourselves and learn how things worked. And then when Chloe came along, she was pretty much my right-hand man. Picturing Chloe as a young girl, it was just the sponge of soaking in the knowledge of everything Dad was doing. And she knew the difference between a ring spanner, open-end spanner, socket, so all that sort of stuff. So at an early age, probably 8 or 9, she would have started doing her first soldering projects.
My name is Chloe Radoll. I am originally from Tamworth. I am from the Anawan people, and I'm at UTS studying Mechanical and Mechatronic Engineering. Whenever I went to my grandparents, they had this bigger telescope, and I remember going there and touching the telescope pretty much every time. They said, would you be interested in having it? And that night I took it home and went and looked through it into the stars and the moon, and everything was much more detailed than my first one. Living outside of the city in more rural areas, it's definitely shaped my ways of understanding the world. So growing up in Tamworth was mostly my high school years. So that's when I actually started to know about robotics.
Being in a country town, there wasn't as many things that could stimulate Chloe as much. They did have little courses and everything running, but she was beyond that. She went to a couple there and already knew what to do, was helping everyone else move forward.
At the end of high school, a lot of my stress was due to knowing that there's such a high ATAR to get into engineering. So I applied through the Jumbunna pathway system, so that's the Indigenous system. I got into Mechanical and Mechatronics. UTS had a big reputation for being very hands-on. So before university and before the Robotics Society, I wasn't much of a person that liked to go up to anyone to talk about anything. I was a very shy person. So through the Robotics Society, I discovered very much my leadership. I was president for the Robotics Society for 3 years. There's 2 main reasons I wanted to take on the role as president of the Robotics Society. And one of them was just to be able to help people grow and watch people fall in love with robotics like I did. And the other reason is to convince more women to come and join. Stepping up to be the inspiration women need is really important. Be able to break down those barriers and show them that they do belong there.
I think it was just towards the end of Year 7 that she started sort of moving towards that way, where space really became an interest to her.
So NISA is the National Indigenous Space Academy. The whole purpose of NISA is to be able to get Indigenous students to different space agencies across the world to learn, and eventually to get the first Indigenous person into space.
So when Chloe got an email saying that she was accepted into the National Indigenous Space Academy, we were just so proud. We were just thinking a really proud moment and a great opportunity for Chloe to expand her knowledge. She'll be one of one at the moment that can put on her resume that she's been to RAL Space for an internship.
At RAL Space, I created a dummy laser that is for harsh space environments, and being able to work on that is something that not many people get to do, and it's something that is so critical for the next steps of the project. There was lovely people there. It was such a good environment to be able to work in. So going abroad made me realise that I want to stay on home country. Family's here, they're closer, and there's something about being on Australian land that just feels comforting. From 5 years ago to now, I've changed a lot. I've become a lot more resilient, I've become a lot more of a leader, and I've become a lot more confident in myself.